What's up, everyone? Welcome back. I got Mike Seidle with us here today. Mike builds software and he builds companies around software. He's done 5 startups, 2 going on 3 successful exits. And he's currently working on a couple cool things that he's going to share with us today. And he also has a podcast, Pivot to First, that he does. So happy to have Mike on and to share his experience on not only building these companies, which we were just talking about offline a little bit on how hard it is to start a tech company, let alone build a successful one, and then to successfully exit as well.
All right, I am so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for taking some time away from your current project. What are you currently working on with your new venture here?
Well, with Pivot, we're actually helping a lot of Fortune 1000 companies recruit faster and recruit better. So um, we build software that makes it easier for recruiters to uh, talk to literally thousands of people a day instead of tens. So it makes a pretty big difference.
Gotcha. How do you come up with this idea? Is like I see Indeed and ZipRecruiter commercials all the time. Is there
Yeah.
something that you're doing better than them?
Well, actually, what we do is we make Indeed and ZipRecruiter work a lot better for employers. Believe it or not, most employers, about 60% of the people that apply on Indeed and ZipRecruiter go directly into the trash can because the recruiters are too busy to even look at the candidates. And the reason they're busy is they spend their day, they have to log into 21 different systems, they have meetings with hiring managers, they're trying to teach people how to interview. They're doing all kinds of things that aren't talking to candidates, right? So you think a recruiter would be, hey, my job is to go to work, I get in there and I try to talk people into coming and working for my great company all day, right? That's really not what they do. They spend maybe, if they're lucky, 2 hours a day doing that. And so what we try to do is make it so that 2 hours that they have to talk to candidates, they can talk to lots of them.
So you're taking like things off their plate so they can become more efficient and more productive at their jobs. That's the gist, or is that wrong?
Well, a little bit of that, but the biggest thing that we do is we take all the communication they do, be it via text message, video, like a meeting, like we're doing right now, or telephone, and make it so they can do that all through one place. Everything gets transcribed, and most importantly, all that communication is integrated into all the systems they have to use to do their job. So they're not sitting there alt tabbing through their applicant tracking system, their HRIS, their video interviewing system, and all of that. They're not going alt tab, alt tab, alt tab, alt tab all day. Instead, they're able to just talk to candidates. Everything gets back to the system of record like it needs to, and they're able to just focus on talking to people. And one of the big problems recruiters have, believe it or not, is that they're using software that's like, I don't know, 10 years old and doesn't communicate with people the way they want to. So if you're trying to recruit a 21-year-old college grad, what do you think happens when you send them an email?
Nothing.
Exactly. So we try, one of the first things we do is we help recruiting teams shift over to using texting to communicate initially and drive a lot of that recruiting process through a channel where people actually will see their message. And it just comes down to text messages have a 91% read rate within 2 minutes. And emails, well, a good open rate on an email campaign is like 18%. And you measure that over 3 days, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
uh, think about that. If you shifted over communication to a channel where people not only get your message really quickly, but they respond within 2 minutes on average, you kind of can speed everything up a lot. And for recruiting, that's kind of getting to the point. Are you interested in this job, and are you qualified for this job? And if I can get you through that part of the conversation, that actually takes about 15 days out of the hiring process.
How long is the hiring process typically?
The average, the Society for HR Managers says that most companies actually spend about 42 days.
So you're able to reduce that by like 33% or more.
Actually, a lot more. Yeah, the initial gain most customers gets about 17 days. So it's pretty remarkable how much faster they get, and then they start realizing, hey, there's other things we're doing that we could speed up too. Like all the drug tests, and like if you're hiring engineers, coding tests, if you're hiring everybody else, aptitude tests and all that, you can move those a lot faster. And then there's getting credentials from people. So if you need licenses and transcripts, it's a lot more efficient to let people share them from their phone than it is to try to get them to go email it in, or send it in the U.S. mail. And a lot of recruiting organizations are still asking people to mail stuff in. It's crazy.
Yeah, speed is super important, and more importantly is efficiency of the speed. I mean, you can go super fast. However, if the product or the code or what you're creating is inefficient, it's going to deter people from using it, and they're just be like, I'm going to keep doing it the old way, even if the old way isn't good. I love when Joe
Yeah.
Rogan talked about technology, and he's like, if I put you in the woods with a hatchet, how long until you can send me an email? And how long it takes for technology to develop. And that's what we're seeing right now. And you've been in this industry for how long? 20, 30, 40 years? You've been doing this a
I've
long
been
time.
I've been building software for about 30 years, and I've been building software for HR really for about the last 10. So it's amazing to see that whole idea of, hey, we got a hatchet. How long does it take to get to now? What's even more amazing is when we do get to something new, it's amazing how fast things get adopted now. So we've went from, how many years between the hatchet being invented and something better happening. It's like centuries, and maybe even thousands of years on the hatchet. But now we're to the point where, hey, something new comes out. Last year, hey, there's this new thing, Chat GPT. Now it's everywhere.
Yeah. And the productivity of how we operate as a society is vital to how the economy is doing. And I believe we're starting to see how people like yourself, who is developing the software to improve processes, is really driving the economy. Because if a business needs a hire and that seat's open, those companies are losing so much money for each individual that they have to hire, train, bring on, recruit, and it could be detrimental to their bottom line. So that's super cool that you came up with this concept. How did you come up with this concept? Did someone approach you? Did you think about it laying in bed one day?
Well, actually, what got us to figure this one out was we had a totally different product in 20 when we started this company. It was called Work Here. We had something totally different. COVID happened, and the software that we had built literally became irrelevant overnight. It was just the job market changed. Everybody was hiring. This product was built for more of a scarcity kind of situation, and so we lost 85% of our customers in March 2020. And we had a few customers that hung on, and those customers, we were doing really a kind of like a primordial version of what our software does. We were chatting with candidates via text to speed up how quickly these companies were engaging with people they wanted to hire. And we were doing this in the trucking industry and in healthcare and a few others. And those customers came to us and go, hey, whatever you do, don't go out of business on us. And so we re-engineered the company and go, okay, we're going to take 2020 and we're going to rebuild everything. We built all new software, got it out to market in January of 2021, and it took off.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy how you could have an idea and it could be a terrible idea, and then one little adjustment could make it super compatible to people. And I mean, being that you've done this for such a long time, I mean, you remember the days where the amount of storage we have in one phone would take up an entire floor of a building.
oh yeah, oh yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how much things have improved, but it's also really equally crazy how long software lasts, like how long things last. Like, you go look at this. How many applications are we using that we were using 20 years ago? Like Microsoft Word is a good example. All this stuff lasts way longer than you think because people do build processes around it, and they do. It's very, very hard for them to change. So one of the biggest challenges we always have in any technology product is like, hey, we've got a better way for you to do this. We have a chainsaw instead of a hatchet. Okay. People are like, why do I need a chainsaw? I can chop down a tree just fine. It takes me 30 minutes to chop through it with my hatchet. I'm good. I'm like, yeah, but you could cut through that tree in 3 seconds with my chainsaw. Come on.
Yeah, change is something, it just gets, I don't know why it gets harder. it just is sometimes when people are set in their ways, or they're not open to new ideas, or they believe that what they've been doing has been the best process possible. However, if technology isn't going to keep adapting, the amount of time it's going to take every man, woman, child, however you identify when it comes to your identity, with getting things done in a faster way. I mean, essentially a job that used to take people 12 hours a day, they could probably do in an hour a day. It's pretty phenomenal.
They can, as long as they do a good job of going, what do I not have to do anymore? That's been the one thing I've noticed in all of this is like we'll come out with a better way to do things. And people go, okay, great. Now I can chop through the tree in 3 seconds instead of 10 minutes. And they'll find a way to fill the other 8 minutes with pointless things that don't do anything or drive any value at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I was doing some research the other day of jobs that are extinct from our society. And one of them's like the milkman. Like, why did we need a milkman back in the day? Now you just go to the store and pick up the milk. However, the
Is the
technology
milkman
wasn't there.
is the milkman dead, or has maybe gig economy kind of delivery services really kind of just absorbed the milkman function and it's still really there?
Yeah, the milkman is still there through like Instacart or Uber Eats in the delivery form if you can't make it to the store. However, the amount of cost, I mean, you don't even have to talk to anyone. And if you need a
Yeah,
driver and a driver fails, they'll find you another one on
yeah,
demand.
it's amazing when you look at things. Okay, that job's dead, but it really isn't. What they were really doing was delivering food. It's just that now now I can get anything at the grocery store I want. I can get it delivered by 8 different companies. It's great.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. You're busy, you're doing some work, you're like, I need to eat. I haven't eaten in 3 days because I'm absorbed in my work. I need to order some food, and it'll just show up at your door. Now with other companies that you started, what was the first one? What was like the first idea that you had to start your journey?
Well, okay, so this is going to be late '80s, and we had these new PCs that everybody was buying and trying to figure out what to do with them in their business and how to do business with them. And the idea of being able to hook them together was just amazing. Like now I could hook all my computers up and send emails to my employees and maybe to my suppliers. And it was like this huge leap in productivity, really. And so the very first business that I started was literally going to local businesses and networking their PCs so that they could all talk to each other and then kind of talk to the broader world. And that was a lot of fun. I had no idea what I was doing. I was 18 years old. And I did that for a while and until one day it just had become such a miserable experience because people, like, it was great at first. I could put networks in all these offices. They love it. Then stuff started having problems. And they would start calling all hours of the day. And I had a week where I think I got like 15 minutes of sleep because it was like me and a couple other college people that were running this, and they weren't very like my partners were not very reliable. Like literally it would be Friday night and my two partners will have went to a party and gotten completely blitzed and the phone would ring. And so I would be the only person there to fix it. And I just got so burnt out on it that I joined the Navy.
What was that like? Didn't you? I saw you did like nuclear engineering or something in the Navy
I,
or
I
something,
did. I
something
did.
crazy.
Yeah, I was a reactor operator. And I literally just it's really weird because back, at least at that point, they got to the point where everybody who joins goes to this delayed entry thing where you sign up and wait 6 months and then you go. And I showed up at the recruiter the next day and go, hey, I want to join the Navy now. And they actually had to go find the manual, like this big book that was about this thick that had the instructions on how to have somebody walk in and join the Navy. And so I had to take a bunch of tests and get a bunch of physicals, and then they gave me that bit because nobody knew what to do with me. They gave me the big binder to carry around everywhere I went, and I'd just give it to the next guy, and they'd look up what they were supposed to do. And so anyhow, 2 days later, I was in Orlando, Florida at boot camp, and um, it was a great experience. I wouldn't trade in being in the Navy, that experience with being in the military. It was just a fantastic learning experience. helped me grow up a lot because I was pretty immature. Obviously, I decided to join the Navy the next day. That's not exactly an adult decision. So
It's a pretty
there you go.
reactionary decision, but it seems to have paid off. What's your most fond experience of being in the service?
Honestly, it the thing that I didn't know it when I was in, but about 2 weeks after I got out, I realized it. One of the differences between civilian life and military life is most of the people that you work with in the military are highly competent at their job. In civilian life, it's not quite that way. Um, so when you go to somebody to deal with something, they're an expert on what you're going to them about in the military, and you get very used to that. You get used to people knowing what. Hey, I have a problem with my paycheck. I go to the personnel man, and he knows what to do. So, and if they don't know what to do, they can go get a big crusty binder off the shelf that's that thick and look it up and tells them what to do. So you get very, very used to that competency, and that everybody is really on the same team and focused on the same goals and everything. So um, there is just an efficiency to that wasn't there in civilian life. Um, and it takes a while when you come out of the military to get used to that. But honestly, being a civilian, there's a lot more freedom, and you enjoy that a lot more. But it was a great experience getting to do what I did. And, I'd do it again if I could.
So when you got out of the Navy, did you go just to a regular job? Did you just start building another business? What was next for you after that?
Well, I done a job. My first job was building software, so I went and got a job programming, and then I realized at that time, believe it or not, being a software engineer didn't pay very well, but being a sales rep did. So I got a job as a sales rep because it paid twice what being a software engineer did, and that was a great experience because then you learn to sell, and learning and honestly, one of the most important skills to have is in business. Period is sales.
Yeah, being able to communicate is super important because people don't understand how hard like the English language is. If you're not a native speaker and I say, "Hey, go up here to the right. It's right up here." They'll think you mean you turn right versus like it's right up here and you're pointing left. It's very confusing. And by being able to communicate with different people, it's essentially a superpower because you can work with all different kinds of people, which if you're running these companies like you are, is vital because the way you're going to talk to Josh is going to be different than the way you talk to Adam over
Oh,
in a different department.
100%. That's just how it is. And the other thing that was really important, I think that's really important about, and I think everybody, if you're an entrepreneur or just a regular, not, you're just working in a job, doesn't matter. Learning to sell is a great skill because everything that you're really doing, be it advancing your own career, building a business, everything you're doing, you're really selling all the time. It never stops. Not always to customers. Sometimes it's to your boss. Sometimes it's to your investors, but you're always selling.
Wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, children.
Yeah,
Everything's a negotiation.
everything's a negotiation, and there's always a lot of persuasion going on. Might as well embrace it.
Yeah, it definitely gotta. If you're not working on it, you got to. And if you feel like you have a problem communicating with everyone, you're not going to change other people. So you got to change the way you communicate with others. With communication and building these businesses that you're working on, where are you seeing things going? Because everyone's getting scared of AI. To me, AI is just another way of saying technology. I mean, AI has been here for such a long time. I mean, people have Roombas in their house. That's AI essentially. It's an automatic robot that vacuums.
Yeah, so go back to the 80s when I started that business. When I was in school in college, I was studying AI in the
Hmm.
80s. The computers totally couldn't do what we're doing today, but the building blocks of all of what we're doing now were the same as what they were then. It hasn't really changed. It's just that now we have these. It's like the iPhone in your pocket is an amazing computer. Now we have the hardware that can actually run this. I think the AI is going to be nothing but a wonderful opportunity for everybody in the end. It's really a new way to interact with the computer. It's a
Mm-hmm.
way to interact that takes away the difficulty of learning to operate it. So for a lot of people, it's kind of, we all have the assistant in our phone that we can go, hey Siri or hey Google, navigate to the airport. Those kinds of things really make technology and make business possibilities for people. Providing services behind that easy interface, and so a lot of what we're seeing right now, is like, okay, this is new technology. Let's try applying it to everything. So there's going to be a lot of bad ideas. It's going to be take business idea X and add AI to it. It's going to be wonderful, and it turns out it won't be. And there'll be a few things where AI really makes the difference between people being able to use it or not, and billions of dollars will be made on that. So I think AI is really going to be a great thing, and it's like all technology is going to make things better for everyone in the end. But we're going to go through a crazy time here for the next few years because it's a big shift.
I talk to a lot of people about investing, and sometimes people question being in technology companies because a lot of older people, they assume technology companies are going to be like Sun Microsystems or anything that has like anything that has a .com at the end of it. Like this company's going to be here, and obviously that didn't work out too well because they were speculative investments. I like to talk to people, and I'm not sure if you would agree or disagree. Technology, to me, it's a consumer staple. Like, go out into the world without technology and let's see how well you can do.
Yeah, and it's the big thing, and this is really important for investors to understand, is the technology is always changing, and it has generations that go every 3 to 7 years. There will be something new, and all of a sudden, all the old things become not sexy and not interesting, and all the new things are interesting. So, we had cryptocurrency that there's this huge flood of interest in crypto, right? And um, everything that wasn't a crypto play became less interesting. And then now everything, if you're not doing AI, you're not interesting. And I think what people don't realize is that cycle is what's creating a lot of value. It's these new inventions that come out, and figuring out how to apply those to personal life problems and business problems. That's where all this value is being created. So if you're investing in tech, you've really got to look at it that way and go, is this company making something that's going to really make a difference and drive value for their customers? And if it does, that might be something that's interesting. But I can see where a lot of investors get whiplash with how fast things change, and how, we were all talking about software as a service, and then all of a sudden Chat GPT, now the only thing we want to talk about is AI, right?
Yeah. And I use Chat GPT every day, ever since I've been able to. Like, I was hungry one day. I only had like limited ingredients. I was like, hey, pretend you're a professional chef. I have these ingredients. What could you make out of this? And then it goes, da 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 da. Oh, you just need to do this, this, this. Put it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes, and you got some peanut butter oat cookies that you don't even have to cook. And I was like, thanks, Chat GPT. I didn't have to go on Google and have a pop-up come up. I have to click out of the pop-up, and then I scroll a little down, and another pop-up comes up, and then I'm like, oh, I don't have all these ingredients. I'm missing one sliver of whatever ingredient might go into it. So it's awesome. Obviously, people are scared of it. They're like anything. The internet is a beautiful place, and there's also things on the internet that are probably not best for people to use.
Hey, the funny thing is, I was in the industry for the internet when it was the new big thing. and and what's funny is there was the same kind of hue and cry about the internet as there is about AI. There were people that were embracing it and going, hey, I'm on the internet. I made a website. I send email, all that stuff. And just like people are right now going, hey, I had Chat GPT tell me how to cook lunch. It's really cool to see that. But what that adoption cycle, that's the thing that really is the thing that drives value. It's you're using it, and then all that's going to happen is it's going to get easier and easier and easier to use, and the problems that can be solved with it will get larger and larger. The one thing I don't see in all of this AI is something to be afraid of at this point. This is not the Terminator. This is not going to be that one. It's this AI is not that. It's different. It's really a better, easier way for people to interact with with other software, other computer technology.
Totally. And like anything, you gotta know how to use it and you gotta know what you're doing. Like for example, I was doing something, someone asked me something about depreciation of real estate, and I like typed it in all the chat GPT, and then I reviewed it and I said, hey, I think you forgot to add back the depreciation to figure this out. And said, oh, thanks for finding that. Let me fix that issue. However,
Yep.
it made a mistake, but it still did the calculation way faster than me building an Excel, putting in all the symbols, all the formulas, running it, making sure it's right. So like anything, you gotta know how to use the tool. I don't care how it works. I don't care how it works. I mean, I don't know how this cup holds liquid in it. I don't know the scientific principles. All I know is I put water in it and it doesn't spill.
It's pretty amazing. It's amazing what you can do with it. But and this is something that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that at least this current kind of AI, the LLM that we're using, it has about a 30% error rate overall. And so when you're using it, you do have to review the results. And a lot like human beings, it'll just make stuff up if it doesn't know the answer. So
Yeah.
you just got to watch it. But it is great. It is making things easier for people. It's going to drive a lot of value. It really is, like all technology, it's like, it looks like science fiction at first, like who would have thought that we'd be saying, hey, computer, could you make me a sandwich? And then it would come back and tell you how to make the sandwich. But that's really cool that we can do it. But there are limitations there. And the hard part with all of this is we don't know what those limitations are just yet.
Yeah. You don't know the limitations until you find a problem and then identify how to, maybe you don't identify how to fix it, but you attempt to figure it out as fast as you can.
Yeah. Well, that's what the scary part is for investors. You don't always know when somebody who's got a brilliant idea for technology is going to have a brilliant idea that will never work. And sometimes it costs a lot of money to find out it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of those ideas end up being something else. Like one example I can remember, you probably remember, is Microsoft had the Zune right when like the
Oh,
iPod came. And then the Zune was actually better. It was actually better than the
oh yeah.
iPod. However, Apple marketed the iPod as 1,000 songs in your pocket, and that resonated with their audience. And that's something that you wrote, is actually, I believe I read, was developing software for people. Like the software
Yeah.
isn't for software engineers. It's for people who don't know anything about, how many semicolons are in a code or see out this and that, all that jazz
Yeah.
that comes with it.
That's been a guiding principle, when you build software for people, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes the people aren't what you expect. Sometimes that person that you're making software for is another software engineer. And so knowing who that person is you're making the software for is really, really, really important. That helps you make the right software and make it work well so it fits into their life. That's actually the real challenge with building software to help recruiters is, you've got to understand recruiters.
Got to know your audience, and you got to have people like Mike in the world who are creating these things, and you didn't even know there's people like Mike out there doing it. So if you got a new job recently, it might be because of Mike. So appreciate you having on. Thanks for everything, and we'll see everyone next time. Bye, everyone.